All right, let's grab a seat. And then that way, if there are questions and time for questions, y'all can ask them. So like if you have questions and you want to get them ready already and feel free to join at the Slido. But we'll do it afterwards. And so this talk is not going to be extremely long. Because funding an open source project is literally different for every single one. Who here is an open source author? Like, okay, awesome. So there's a good amount of hands. You know that working in open source is not, tulips and roses and, there's a lot of struggles behind it. People can get burnt out. I just want to share our experiences and kind of a timeline of how kind of things grew from the Webpack that was released in 2012 to what we have today. And kind of just tips and advice that you can take with you and see if applying them really have a successful kind of impact on your project. So, yes, Webpack, growth funding and sustainability. And the title of the talk was like Open Source 2.0. And so as you know, typically with a new release, you have a new identity, a new branding, and that's kind of how we feel, what we are doing with open source. It's something that has not been seen before since Linux or, the old style. And so, of course, if you weren't at the last talk, I am Sean Larkin. I'm a program manager for Microsoft's web platform, specifically Edge DevTools. Who here is a PC Windows user? Yeah. Have you installed the Fall Creators Update and tried Edge 16 yet? Go ahead and do so and see how fast and amazing we've made Edge over the time in the past 6 months. But yes, of course, also a maintainer. And I like to say advocate because each one of the maintainers, and you probably met some of them here today, have specific roles and responsibilities, but we all maintain and we tend to the garden that is Webpack. And then, I worked on the Angular CLI core team, but also just, like I said, evangelist for open source sustainability. And so you might know that we are part of Open Collective. And Open Collective is a transparent way for you to be able to donate and fund our project. It's more about being an investment and a part of the community to double down on what you use and ensure that the return is really great, which is using Webpack and the quality that we ship to you. So if Yuho, I don't know if Yuho made it back. They turned him down because it was full in the last talk. But these are his slides, so I want to give him credit for it. But just a brief history of Webpack. Let's see. Wait, did I go too fast? I did. Fast slides. Okay. So in 2012, March, Tobias starts developing Webpack due to an abandoned PR. He was in the GitHub issue, he basically says, I think we should add code splitting to modules webmake. And the author says no. And then, so Tobias forked it and then called it modules Webpack for a second and then renamed it to Webpack. And so that Webpack was born. Then 2013, React Hotloader appears. And we're not really sure exactly. I think it's just kind of starting to perpetuate in the React community. And then in 2014, Pete Hunt talks about Webpack at OSCON West. Who here has seen that talk? That was, I had just gotten a flavor of Webpack even watching this talk, and this was oh my gosh, we want to try it out. So thank you so much, Pete. If you ever see this or you watch it, it is thanks to you and Instagram for a lot of our success. And then July in 2016. So I'll talk about my experience. I worked for a very small contracting company that did B2B data. And so the culture was not a really great culture there, and I was planning to leave. But one thing that I loved about it is that it was a React shop. I always came from the Angular community, and I had never even heard of Webpack. I never knew what it was. Gulp, grunt, those are the things that I was typically accustomed to. And I got my first taste of Webpack working there, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? It was I even get chills on my arms just talking about it, because it was such an incredible experience when it was set up for the first time and using it, and I just wanted to know more. And so after I left this company, I worked for Mutual of Omaha, which is an insurance company. And who here like works for an insurance company? Anyone? Okay, so what you should know, yeah, there's a good reason why. So like web development in the insurance industry is really slow. Like you have compliance and legal and all sorts of things that you have to make sure you do. And so like my first 3 weeks there, I had basically free time. And so I devoted it to how can we make Webpack work with AngularJS? And so like then I even found out like there are tech conferences. Like you can submit talks to tech conferences and like you can go for free. And so I was like, I'm going to do this. So I took the work that I did getting Angular and Webpack to work, and I submitted it as a talk, and they're like, Sean, we want you to come and speak on Angular 2 in Webpack. And I was like, oh gosh, that's a lot to learn. And it was just around that time that I met Juho Vepselainen, who's one of our maintainers. And I said, hey, like, what can I do? You know, how can I help? And so like, I kind of pulled them all into a Gitter chat at one time, and I was like, I want to get you guys paid. I want to see, you know, I believe in this product. I love it. It's just an incredible experience. We should be able to support ourselves. Like, why should you just work on it for 5 hours a week? And so it was just about that time that I joined the team, and then we created what's called the Webpack core team in a Medium post, probably one of our most popular Medium posts. Okay, so 2016 October, we joined Open Collective. And then 2017 in January, Webpack 2 releases. So you can kind of see like, wow, who here remembers how long it took Webpack 2 to get out of beta? Like, yeah. But we were starting to do weekly stand-ups and talk about what we need to do to get this taken care of, ship our documentation. And so then we started kind of evangelizing like, hey, we could, if we fund ourselves, we could really make this incredible. And so we were able to reach about an estimated yearly target of $80,000 as a budget. And also, this gives Juho time to ship Survive.js and the Webpack edition. If you haven't gotten that book, go get it. Not only is it excellent literature, it's great to have and really talks about the higher level concepts and things that you should know. And then we shipped Webpack 3 in 2017. So like, it took us how long to get Webpack 2 out? And then we shipped Webpack 3. So you can see a huge difference in what we were able to do once we could start sustaining the time working on this project. And then in 2017 of August, our annual budget became roughly $300,000 for a yearly. And this includes a Mozilla grant, a contract from Trivago, who, thank you guys. I know the people from Trivago might still be here, but thank you so much. Like, give them a round of applause as they kind of blaze the trail for sustaining our project. And so thank you so much. And so now we're sitting roughly around, you know, about over $250,000, almost $500,000 a year for our project. Tobias is now full-time working on Webpack to sustain himself. And the question, you're like, Sean, shut up, how? Like, how? How did you do it? So I think, yeah, who remembers reading this article? Anybody? Like, this was really special because this was where we announced the core team. And there was a quote in this is while we were still using Gitter. And I can't remember what it said, but it was like, hey, we should start doing like weekly hangouts or something. And then Tobias goes, wow, this is kind of getting real. And like that was the preface for this title. So so it's about changing the culture, the identity for us. You know, we were just a project that was being worked on for 5 hours a week with, you know, scattered contributors that, you know, and that's not really sustainable for a product. Companies don't look to that as being something like, oh, we can really double down on this investment. But what does it mean to change a culture or change an identity for an open source project? One thing that we did that we found really successful was creating a Medium publication. So whether or not your project is large or small, create a Medium page for it. Give users a place to have curated content that is quality. One of the things that you probably will never see, or maybe you do, but it's not very common, is that like if you search Webpack on Twitter, you don't see thousands and thousands and thousands of like retweet bots, retweeting like a bunch of 5-cent articles. Instead, we try and aggregate and monopolize the quality content to be on our Medium page. That way, we can ensure that there's one place that people should be going to learn about Webpack, or to learn everything from our team, our open source project, our organization. So as you can see here, we have gotten so the breadth or the amount of different content that we have now has gone to not only Tobias, who primarily right now, because he's our one full-time author and developer, is, we have a freelance logbook. So when we add more full-time contributors that we're going to pay, we want them to be using the freelance logbook so people can see exactly what we're working on. We have a contributor's guide, which I author, and even though there's only 2 articles, that's where we want content to not only be focused, but to also be anything that anybody really wants to know to be here. And so the second type is outreach. So who here has, just think back, who here tweeted about Webpack one time and some random dude from America popped up and was like, can I help? Who here remembers any of that? Outreach is super, super, super important. And the story about it is when I joined the core team, I had only 1 commit. And I don't even know if anybody uses that feature. It's called auxiliary comments, and it's inside output. That was my first commit to Webpack. So I was terrified at first. Contributing is, scary. I mean, I understand it. And so I was like, what can I do? What am I good at? How can I bring value to the project that is, not already being done? And so I was like, well, I love helping people. I used to do technical support before I was a programmer. And so literally, I just started going on Twitter and searching Webpack constantly. And now it's I do this for 5 to 6 hours a day still. And so outreach is so important. One, as a maintainer, by reaching out to your users, it shows you that you can empathize with them. Empathy is who here understands the term empathy? Empathy is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and understanding the struggles and the roadblocks and the experiences that they have to go through, whether it's in life, in development, in the project, or trying to contribute for the first time. And so empathy and outreach are so, 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 so important. I can't express it enough. To be able to really, change your identity, change the culture, and show people that you give a shit about them and how they use your project. So yes, outreach. And this was a really fun tweet that I did one time, which was what's in your bundle? And so basically have people do Webpack Bundle Analyzer, reply with this image, and essentially we just triaged. We were like, okay, there's some opportunities here and here. You should do some code splitting, this bundle's too big, or you're using Lodash in 14 different places, all sorts of stuff. And then user governance. So who here has voted on our Webpack vote page before? Yeah? Okay, so if you don't know about it, every single one of you can impact the direction of our project. You go to webpack.js.org/vote. And I think it was broken at the time because Open Collective switched their APIs. But we got that fixed, didn't we? We got that fixed? Us. Awesome. So please go on there. All you need is a GitHub. And every day as a GitHub user, you get 1 vote. Every day. If you're a sponsor or backer, you get golden influence, which is 100 times more strong, or 100 times stronger. And so what does this mean? Literally, what we work on, the direction of this project literally is in your hands. So not only is what we do transparent, the way that the money that is funded is transparent, but also the direction of the community is transparent. And so we call this governance. You decide our direction. Do you want to add, a specific type of feature? Then every day go vote for it. So take a look at this page. It really kind of decides everything that we do. Yeah, so transparency. Literally, like I said, transparency is it's one of these kind of underlying things that we try to continue to do as a project. So this is just an example of the freelancing logbook. And probably one of the most exciting things that we've done that's new. And I think Tobias has also become really good at writing as well. Like I remember like the first post, we had to edit a few things, and now he's doing a really good job. And so this is exciting, and it kind of, if you haven't taken a look at this, go ahead. It's on our Medium publication, medium.com/webpack. And so like, this kind of shows exactly what we've gone through every single week. Or if we have to skip a post and there's not much exciting, we'll group it into 2 weeks, whatever. And then love. And then love. Like, so I can't put really a good explanation around this besides just love. You know, one of the most powerful things that you can do is just show people that you care as a maintainer. It's not even like, it's powerful just as a user or a contributor or just somebody, if you want a following. Like this was all I did for 3 months was look for, and these are the kind of tweets that we used to get initially. You know, because we understood that there were problems. And all we wanted to do is show you that we care and that we really love our users and we want you guys to have a good experience. And love. And like, I can't stress this enough. Like, going, like Twitter, who has Twitter? You all have Twitter, probably, maybe, sort of, ish. If you don't, and you're a maintainer, go get one right now. Either brand it for your project or brand it as yourself. Like, some people may ask me, like, Sean, why don't you have an official Webpack Twitter? Because people don't get who you are or whatever. And I'm like, no, because it takes the humanity out of the fact that we care. Like, if it's just a Webpack account, then it just kind of is like, oh, somebody's just, you know, whatever. You don't know the person behind it. You don't have anybody human to talk to. And so, yeah, like literally love. It's the one thing that I cannot stress enough to people is that no matter how angry or how mean or how crude, that the best weapon against trolls, the best weapon against people who are upset is to just show them that you care. And it's just like, hey, is there any way we can help? Always reach out. Love. I cannot say it enough. And most of the time, like literally you'll see here, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just venting. And that's okay, encourage it. Like I literally tell people, we want candid feedback because it raises the bar for our project. And so it's these kind of things. It really is. If you want a successful project, this is going to help you. I can't say it's going to make it successful because it's more than just this. This is just one piece. But I think this is one of the pieces that is missing from our ecosystem with many projects and why we've been able to be so successful. So remember, no matter how angry you may be or how triggered you might be as a maintainer, like, you don't get it, or like, that's terrible, you shouldn't use that anyways. Like, I would never say that to somebody. Just say like, hey, you know, we could probably show you an easier way to do it. Can we help? And so, like, love. Some of the things that, like, I strive to do, so it's not just Twitter, though. Who here kind of knows that, like, if your post ends up on Hacker News or Reddit, you're like, oh. It's like, oh, God. And we used to be kind of scared about this. But typically what I do is I'll literally just be the first one to respond on it and just say, thank you guys so much for sharing this. You know, we love, you know, the Reddit community. We love your feedback. We cannot, you know, we can't wait to show you what we're doing next. Thank you for the feedback. And like nowadays, if you look at most of our posts, you don't even have people that are shitting on us. And so like, to me, it's like, wow, it goes a really long way. Like if we can make it in Reddit and Hacker News, like we're doing the right things. So love. And love, same thing. Like I said, in Reddit JavaScript too. Post your articles, get yourself out there, but then also comment on them. Be like, thank you guys. I know that you've always, you know, criticized us and we love that. So, help shape the future. So this is a slide that I always put on every single one of my talks. And speaking is kind of part of it. Who here is terrified of speaking? Like, let's be honest, it's okay. Tobias is raising his hand. He is. He's terrified of it. And that's okay. If you are, find somebody who loves working on your project, but also loves helping people. elevate their opportunities to be up on stage and to talk about this stuff. And there's nothing wrong about talking about your project as an investment. I also think of it as you're like a stockholder. You own a share of our project, and you get dividends, which is better user experiences, better support, or whatever. And this is kind of like the last slide, but it's kind of important. So one of the things I always talk about is maintaining an open source project is really, and building an ecosystem, building funding, building contributors, anything, is always about the humans behind it first. It's always the human aspect. And so I say, always look to create a partnership first. If you're over here listening to me talk with the gentleman from IBM, the first thing I say to them is, if there's any way that we can help you guys meet any of your business needs or challenges, let us know. You can always reach us in DM. We would love to do a brown bag. We would love to talk. Get yourself involved in understanding who the people are behind your ecosystem. By seeing how people use your product, you then can empathize with them, and then you can understand, oh, well, maybe we should be doing something completely different, or we should be solving these kind of features. That not only creates trust, but it creates relationships. And the relationships are what yield things like sponsorships and funding for your project. And then there's sometimes a play is needed. So like when I say plays, you have to be kind of strategic or be aware of your ecosystem. So that could be anything like if you see a really great article somewhere and it's not on your publication, you should probably reach out to that person and say, hey, can we have this on our publication? Or it's if a certain browser like Mozilla is championing WebAssembly and it's a huge pillar for them as an investment, maybe you should submit a grant to their open source support foundation to have WebAssembly in your product and support it. So it's like, you have to really think about how you're going to strategize long term. And I don't really consider that a play. We believe that WebAssembly is the future. But by doing this grant, we've been able to extend our life just by this specific feature for a year. So it's just one of the many ways that you can think about, like, funding isn't going to be, something that just magically happens. And you have to work your ass off for it. One of the things that I think are crazy is that, I've never felt so distanced from the project in terms of like my code contributions. I remember back in trying to land Webpack 2, like I think I did land like 10,000 lines of changes to Webpack. And I know the system through and through, but I have felt so distant because I've been working on this and I've been working on this. And they are super, super, super important to the project. And we consider them contributions. So even if you don't, or you're afraid of the code, but you know how to sell, or you know how to interact with people, that is your role in a project. Find a project that you love and believe in, and using these kind of tools, the love, the partnerships, the human side of it, then the blessings that come are funding, are support, are different kinds of things that help continue build the infrastructure for your organization. So that's all I have for you guys, but we'll do Q&A, but thank you. Okay, so yeah, we have probably a pretty solid amount of time for, I actually did a good job with time. Okay, so 6 minutes. Is Babra here today? So Juho Vepsalainen is Babra on Twitter. He's on our core team. He's here today, but he was going to be at the last talk, but he couldn't because it was full, which is a good and bad thing. I wish he was here. And then Hovhannes, please tell us about Webpack Contrib. How does it relate to the Webpack project? Yes, that's an excellent question. So this is kind of a play, but it was also something that we thought it was a great idea. So all of our loaders and plugins used to be a part of the Webpack core project or core organization on GitHub. Now what we decided, so we wanted to be able to have as many open slots for Travis, for free like Travis for testing and CI, and all of these repos inside of our core org were taking up space. And so we decided to move it out to a separate organization called Webpack Contrib, And now, what was awesome is that we were able to basically collect not only all of our core loaders and plugins, but then people from the community. And what excites me about it is that we have a set of standards. And so it's like you have to structure the code a certain way. So it makes using a plugin in a loader less unpredictable for you, but then it's also more predictable as a contributor. So your Twitter handle is the Larkin. Is your house named this? No, but I could. Like, I'll put a sign up on my house when I get back, and we'll call it the Larkin. I just thought it was a play on words, and like I know that there is a bed and breakfast out there that is really pissed. Like, probably. But yes, guys, I think that's mostly all the time that we have. Of course, you can find me whenever. I know it's not an exact science for contributing, but the goal is to really think about the people and the partnerships and how you can connect with them. So thank you very much.